Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ann Dobson, and our service leader today is the Reverend Dr. Lori Whittemore. Welcome. Donna, please don't say that. We've been fighting with this thing. Just do this, okay? I'll try to look at you. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Saco and Biddeford. We also want to welcome those joining us on YouTube and encourage you to have a candle or chalice to light when we light ours here in a few moments. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, we are glad you are here with us today. The theme for the month of March is vulnerability. We invite you to carry that theme with you as you are with us today and into your daily life when you leave here. We strive to be a green sanctuary. It gives roots and wings to our vision of a world where all people build toward a sustainable future and make reverence, gratitude, and care for the living earth central to our lives. We want to acknowledge that our building sits on the land of the Wabanaki Confederation, which includes the Abenaki, Maliseet, Micmac, Passamaquoddy, and Penobscot nations. We invite you to take home the order of service for information and announcements, or you may leave it for recycling as you exit the sanctuary. Our current COVID guidelines are on the back page. There will be a social hour in the parish hall after the service, but no coffee hour.
We have coffee.
Good. This is the time in our service when we light our chalice. If you would please join me. This is a sacred promise to gather together in peace, to seek truth and love, to serve human need, so that all shall grow in harmony with the divine.
Good morning. Good morning.
This being human is a guest house. Every morning is a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows, who violently sweep your house, empty of it its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you of some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Welcome to this guest house with all your wanted and unwanted guests. You are welcome here. And now please stand as you're able and join me in singing hymn number 348, Guide My Feet. Now, before you sit, now is the time in the service where we turn and greet our neighbors.
And then we sing.
Hello, neighbors. Hello, neighbor.
Some of this. Greeting those new people. Greet those new people. We're singing right after this, so get your notebooks ready.
Good morning, neighbor.
Right at me, but it doesn't Hi, Donna. Ellie.
Can he see? Yeah, he can see. He can't hear. I know he can't hear. I know that.
Now is the time in our service when we come forward and share the joys and sorrows that are in our hearts. If you care to do so, please say your name and light a candle and tell us your joy and concern.
Hi, my name is Lori, and my father was a wildlife biologist, and we were very blessed to live in Alaska for years, and he helped with Kodiak bears and bald eagles, and his nickname was the Bald Eagle. And this past week, I was having a difficult morning, was driving on the highway, listening to NPR, and I have never seen a bald eagle fly over 95. Bald eagle flew right over me, right as NPR said, and the wildlife biologist said. I was like, oh, thank you.
I just want to share the joy that I got to spend time with my son this weekend. And the biggest joy is when he says, when we go to church.
I'm Ellie. I lit a candle this morning for Helen and Russ Harvey. Helen was, I think she came to this church for a while, years ago, and she was very involved with Voices in Harmony. Anyway, Russ passed away on Monday from a sudden heart attack, and an hour later, Helen passed away from a stroke. And they had been high school sweethearts, been together for over 60 years, and so a blessing for both of them, but their loss leaves a big hole in the hearts of many of my friends, so I'm thinking about them and my friends today.
And Jean's joy is that there will be coffee in the green room after the service. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Janine, and I've enjoyed all of your prayers for my recovery, but I need some more to help get my blood counts where they need to be.
Sorry, candles are hesitant this morning. And I light one candle for the glorious, glorious day we're having with a promise of more to come, I think, I hope. And this last candle is for all the joys and sorrows that we hold in our hearts. Let's sit with that for a second.
Well, I love that Trevor invited me to reinstate Stories for All Ages because it's been a lot of fun. And when I ordered this book, I thought it was a kid's book, but it's really a young kid's book. So you're going to miss all the pop-ups and the textures that happen, but trust me, it's a really good book. It's called Beautiful Oops. A torn piece of paper, see, it's really, I wish you could see the paper here, is just the beginning. Every spill, every bent paper is something to celebrate. A little drip of paint, a scrap of paper can be fun to play with. A smudge and a smear, holes in your paper, exploring are worth, sorry, I can't really see what that says. When you think you have made a mistake, oops, think of it as an opportunity to make something new. And now stand as you're able and join me in singing hymn number 1045 in the Teal hymnal, There is a Balm in Gilead.
My palate is encrusted with all the dried remnants of yesterday's hopes, where strokes of genius and folly were first born in a fresh imagination. My canvas, overlaid with realities, correcting unfinished pieces of dreams that were once so perfect, so beautiful that nothing else would ever do. Expectations sketched with a once steady hand until one day I stood back, embraced the reality and the priceless gifts of imperfection.
Our theme for March is vulnerability. There are several definitions of vulnerability. One is openness or susceptibility to attack or harm. Another is willingness to show emotion or to allow one's weaknesses to be seen. Willingness to risk being emotionally hurt. And still another is the condition of needing supportive or protective social services and community resources because of advanced age or poverty or disability. We nailed this last week, having age-friendly Saco come in and selecting them to share the plate this month, quite a dovetail to the concept of vulnerability. Lining up with the idea that we are in fact a community that is predominantly seniors. While many of you run circles around me, I believe we are all leaning into our vulnerabilities here in this community. Vulnerability is an interesting concept. When I think about the idea of openness, of susceptibility to attack or harm, I think that is a narrowed and Western perspective of the idea of openness. While openness means putting oneself out there and possibly in harm's way, it also means we admit that we are not in control and that we face what life throws at us. We recognize that we are impermanent, flawed people. We may be susceptible to attack or harm, but at the same time, we are susceptible to love, and to connection with other people, other humans. Letting one's weaknesses be seen or known, willingness to risk being emotionally hurt. Again, this is a definition as presented to us through a Western dictionary. To me, leans a little bit into the possibility of being seen or hurt or cracked as a negative thing. And of course, the last translation of vulnerability points to the need for protection and social intervention of one sort or another. I spent some time playing with these words and concepts around this: vulnerable, real, broken, weak, needy. And then I landed on the word imperfect. That word resonated perfectly with me. None of us is perfect. We are human. In their book of The Spirituality of Imperfection, Ernest Kurtz and Catherine Ketchum write, to be human is to be incomplete and constantly yearning for completion. All these yearnings remain necessarily unsatisfied. For perfection, completion, certainty, wholeness are precisely because we are human, we're limited, we're finite, we die. To quote 1 Corinthians 13, for now we see in a mirror dimly, imperfectly. But then we will see face to face, perfectly. Then I will know fully, perfectly, because now I only know in part, imperfectly, even as I have been perfectly known. Now faith, hope, love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love. And love is perfect. There is no judgment in this passage, just a recognition that we are imperfect, striving towards being perfect. On the spiritual pilgrimage to fulfill our life goal of love, to build faith, to cultivate hope, and again, to fulfill the prophecy of love, a perfect climax and manifestation in life. But we get there as vulnerable people, imperfect people. Our goal is to rest in that imperfection, not to struggle against it. When we strive for perfection, we constantly hold on to control. We try to play God. Pema Chodron, an American Buddhist nun, writes, we think that if we just meditated enough, or jogged a little further, or ate perfect food, everything would be perfect. But from the point of view of someone who is awake, that is death. Seeking security or perfection, rejoicing and feeling confirmed in all things, whole, self-contained, and comfortable, this is some kind of death. It doesn't have any fresh air. There is no room for something to come in and interrupt it all. We are killing the moment by controlling our experience. Doing this is setting ourselves up for failure because sooner or later, we're going to have an experience that we can't control. Our house will burn down, or someone we love will die or get cancer. The essence of life is that life is challenging. Sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter, but always challenging because we are broken. To live fully and be fully alive is always to be in this moment, always be vulnerable, always recognize we are imperfect. So the chaplains I work with have been getting a lot of referrals for folks struggling with substance use disorder, as it is now termed. Recognizing that we needed tools to support people, we are reading The Spirituality of Imperfection. That's where the title of this came from today. The book kind of takes us through the 12 steps. It was written about the spirituality embedded in those, so we could talk to people and connect with people about the spirituality of what they're going through. And it's embedded in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, for those who are not familiar, and other 12-step recovery programs. And also, without recognizing, engaging, and embracing the spiritual nature of the program, it is nearly impossible to use that program to succeed, because it's all spiritual work, to work through them. The majority of the steps are about our fallenness. admitting that we are powerless over our drug of choice, naming defects of character and how we've hurt other people, saying out loud to another person, "This is my brokenness," and then making meaning of it, making amends with it, and moving forward. My church history professor said on more than one occasion that an AA meeting and working the 12 steps is more a representation of the Church of Jesus Christ than anything else we see in the side of four walls. Addicts sharing their stories and connecting at their flaws and vulnerabilities, where strength and hope is rejuvenated, indeed is a very spiritual experience. A favorite illustration of this for me, and I've probably used it before, is the Japanese art of kintsugi. Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery by mending the areas of breakage with lacquer dusted with gold or silver. As a philosophy, it treats breakage and the repair of it as part of the history of the object, rather than something to disguise. That is both the idea of kintsugi and AA, to illuminate the brokenness and highlight how beautiful, how pretty you can put the pieces back together, to share the true story of that vessel that's broken, where it broke, how we repaired it, what beautiful patterns and materials brought it together. Where we are broken is where we are relatable. I have recently heard that the opposite of addiction is in fact connection. When we connect honestly at our points of brokenness, we can ourselves put it back together in beautiful and unique ways. We relate, we are relatable, sometimes even stronger for the awareness of our journey and the awareness of a journey of others. We are broken, we are vulnerable. Those broken, raw places are places that we connect. When we connect at those places and those spaces, we knit ourselves back together in beautiful, possibly even stronger ways. I think they say that about a broken bone. When it knits together, it's even stronger. It is an imperative that we connect to others. Age-friendly Saco does that for people, both those offering support and both those receiving support, identifying places of vulnerability, connecting people at those places, sharing support, sharing stories, creating new stories, meeting because things don't work as they used to, or cost more than they should, or take more energy or skills to deal with. When things aren't perfect and people are vulnerable, others get the chance to exercise their spirituality by reaching out, connecting at points of vulnerability. This is the way we can individually work on our own spirituality, connecting to people honestly from our less than perfect lives and our less than perfect selves. Most of us in this room are UUs, and we have a third principle that calls us to account on this very topic. A principle to guide us to do this in relationship to each other and in our community. And it is acceptance of one another and encouragement of spiritual growth in our congregations. Acceptance of one another and encouragement. And as we've just heard, accepting our brokenness helps us, grounds us in our own imperfection, which in turn should allow us and even prepare us to accept others who are broken as well. And by accepting others where we are, we give them the space to create a path forward where they are. It won't always happen, and that is where our own spirituality is tested and grown. Accepting people as they are in their brokenness is affirming, inviting, humanizing, and loving. It creates the right conditions for spiritual growth, and that's what we're called to do as UUs. And that is what we strive here in this community, to accept and encourage community supporting members. But here's the thing, as a community, we have to look at our brokenness, not just as individuals. Where are our wounds and vulnerabilities? How can we know ourselves as a liberal church in the least church state in the country? What challenges are we experiencing that we could share and connect with other churches and civic groups in our geography? I was recently in conversation with a woman from an LGBTQI community center who was looking to share space, amongst other things. Is this an opportunity for us, and are there others who align with our values that we could share space with? Not just have them rent a hall, but share space. At our warming service that we had a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, I sat with folks from the First Parish UCC and heard about their struggles to take care of their beautiful building. Are there ways we could connect to save money, learn lessons, share resources? The Seventh-day Adventist Church shares our struggles with aging congregation. They got involved in using their building as a child care facility through denominational funding to birth the center as a nonprofit. Tuition maintains it, and then they got a significant government grant or payout as they stayed open during COVID, and that's going to take them into their next iteration. None of these particular situations may be an answer for us, I give you that, but the magic of it is in the connection. The magic is in the conversation. The connecting about our vulnerabilities, our imperfections, our struggles. The connecting about the boilers and the roofs and the lack of resources. We grow stronger when we're in conversation with other people. We grow our spirituality as a community. We share our values, we grow our values. We don't have to be right, but we have to be hopeful. That's why we're here. We have to be hopeful. And hope comes when we're open, vulnerable, connected, hopeful. It is truly cultivated when we examine the depth and the reality of our imperfection. We don't hide it. We seek connection because of it. That is where true spirit lives. Consider the church is an incubator for how we create a well-lived life. A healthy, sometimes unhealthy, but healthy, fulfilling, hopeful life. When we don't recognize our vulnerabilities, share our struggles, and make something of our oops, that doesn't bode well for society as a whole. Our society, the larger society for which we are a part, does not do well with vulnerability. And if you disagree, I invite you to drive around Portland and see how the mentally ill, addicted, homeless fare on the streets near Deering Oaks Park. Acceptance and encouragement are terms to be cultivated inside these four walls and then reflected back into the world. That's our job. Let us recognize our imperfection, held and encouraged by our community. Let us give courage to stand with others in their imperfection. Let us look at our collective imperfections and challenges and stand with others in our neighborhoods and communities, getting and giving encouragement and hope for things yet to come. And let us reflect that back out into the world, that we shift the narrative from rewarding the rugged individual for their lack of need of anyone to lifting up those who connect and cultivate community by sharing the reality and their realness. We can't do everything, but we can do something. And as long as we can do something, we should do something. It starts with self-examination of our brokenness, our oops, our leaks, our broken furnaces, our ancient wrinkled carpets, because that's where our brokenness is. Extending our hospitality and our principles in service and in conversation with other people, other communities. All opportunities to meet new neighbors, share our brokenness with faith communities, nonprofits, all working with the same limits of resources and facing overwhelming challenges, and for the people they serve. We know we don't have to do it differently, or we know we do have to do it differently. I'm not sure what that means or looks like. I believe as we use our spiritual strength to look at our imperfections and share them, we will create a life affirming a way forward. It is mostly in those oops moments, in those broken pieces of paper or cut up pencils or inky leaks. A spirituality of imperfection suggests that there is something wrong with me, with you, with the world, and there is nothing wrong with that because that's the nature of reality. The spirituality of imperfection invites us to find a new way of being or doing to address the brokenness or to incorporate it, to find a new path because of it, because the old way is broken and a new path must be forged. Oops. Now what? So be it.
When we gather together as a community, we bring the gifts of ourselves, our hearts, our spirits, our time and energy, our talents and skills to support the work of this church here within our walls and out in the larger community. We also bring our gift of generosity, giving of what we have so that the work of this church may continue. As always, half our offering today will be sent out into the larger community to support the work of an agency or organization that is making a difference in our world. This month, we are sharing our offering with age-friendly Saco. If you are watching from home on YouTube, donations may be made by clicking the PayPal link in the video description, or checks may be mailed to the UUCSB, 60 School Street, Saco, Maine, 04072. Please be generous as the ushers collect this morning's offering. And I have one other note. Ann Wilkinson will be playing for us during the offertory. The Wind That Shakes the Barley is an Irish ballad written from the perspective of a young County Wexford rebel who was leaving his loved one to enter into the 1798 rebellion in Ireland. The barley refers to the oats and barley rebels carried in their pockets as provisions. This led to the phenomenon of barley growing in unmarked mass graves of the rebels. please join me as we extinguish our chalice today. The words we use are in your order of service. As we
Release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delights, to light our paths, today, tomorrow, and always.
And please remain standing and join me in singing hymn number 205, Amazing Grace. Now go out into the world, bold in your brokenness, fired by the light that shines through the cracks, led by your vulnerability and your imperfection, fed by the Spirit that transforms. Go in peace. Amen.
Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the shining star to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the shining shines wave to you. Deep peace of the showing head to you. Deep peace of the showing head to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you.
Our service is now concluded. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think there's coffee in the other room. I sure hope it's a strong. Thanks for coming, and please remain seated for our special music.